Konnichiwa, and welcome to the very first episode of Tales from Japan. I'm your host, Ken Takahashi, and I couldn't be more excited to embark on this journey with you. In this debut episode, we're diving into one of the most dramatic and ruthless events in Japanese history, the Siege of Mount Hiei. This story is not just about a fierce battle, it's about the relentless ambition of Oda Nobunaga, his vision for a unified Japan, and the devastating fall of the Enryakuji temple complex. Join me as we unravel the complex web of political intrigue, military strategy, and the clash of spiritual and temporal power that defined this pivotal moment in the Sengoku period. Prepare to be transported to a time of warriors, monks, and the unyielding pursuit of power. The Siege of Mount Hiei, Oda Nobunaga's path to unification. Oda Nobunaga was born in 1534 into the Oda clan, which controlled the Owari province in central Japan. His early years were marked by a mix of traditional samurai upbringing and unorthodox behavior, earning him the nickname Owari no Utsuke, the Fool of Owari. Despite his erratic early behavior, Nobunaga displayed a keen intellect and a penchant for strategic thinking. The death of his father, Oda Nobuhide, when Nobunaga was just a teenager, thrust him into a leadership role, challenging him to navigate the treacherous political landscape of the Sengoku period. Nobunaga's formative years were shaped by constant military training, exposure to political intrigue, and the need to assert his authority within the Oda clan. He faced opposition from within his own family, particularly from his younger brother, Nobuyuki, who sought to usurp him. These early familial conflicts honed Nobunaga's tactical acumen and steeled his resolve. The political environment of Owari province during Nobunaga's youth was characterized by fractious alliances and frequent skirmishes with neighboring clans. Nobunaga's innovative approach to warfare, characterized by his use of firearms and unconventional tactics, began to emerge during this period. His ability to inspire loyalty among his followers and his ruthless decisiveness in dealing with rivals set the stage for his subsequent rise to power. Nobunaga's marriage to Nohime, the daughter of Saito Dosan, a powerful daimyo of Mino province, was both a strategic alliance and a consolidation of his position. This union not only brought temporary peace with a neighboring power, but also provided Nobunaga with additional resources and influence. As Nobunaga transitioned from a young lord to a formidable leader, he began to envision a unified Japan under his rule. This vision was radical at a time when the country was fragmented into numerous warring states. Nobunaga's early life and the challenges he faced instilled in him the determination and strategic brilliance that would later characterize his military campaigns and political maneuvers. Oda Nobunaga's journey to consolidate power in the Owari province was marked by strategic ingenuity, bold military campaigns, and decisive battles that showcased his tactical brilliance. Upon assuming leadership after his father's death, Nobunaga faced immediate internal challenges, including opposition from his own family. His brother, Nobuyuki, sought to overthrow him, leading to a series of confrontations that tested Nobunaga's resolve and strategic mind. Nobunaga decisively dealt with this familial threat, solidifying his position within the Oda clan. Externally, Nobunaga faced threats from rival clans, each vying for dominance in the fractured political landscape of the Sengoku period. One of the most significant threats came from the Imagawa clan, led by Imagawa Yoshimoto, who sought to march through Owari to claim the capital, Kyoto. This led to the pivotal Battle of Okazama in 1560, where Nobunaga's audacity and tactical brilliance shone through. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Nobunaga executed a surprise attack on Yoshimoto's camp during a thunderstorm, resulting in a decisive and unexpected victory. This battle not only elevated Nobunaga's status, but also demonstrated his innovative approach to warfare, relying on speed, surprise, and psychological tactics to overcome numerically superior foes. In the aftermath of Okehazama, Nobunaga capitalized on his newfound fame to forge strategic alliances with other powerful clans. He formed a significant alliance with Tokugawa Ieyasu, a partnership that would prove crucial in his future endeavors. Prosody rate. Additionally, Nobunaga's reforms within his domain, such as the implementation of free markets, Rakuichi Rakuza, and the promotion of trade, strengthened his economic base and increased his influence. Nobunaga's consolidation of power was not limited to military and economic strategies. He also employed diplomatic tactics to subdue potential threats and secure loyalty. He navigated the complex web of Sengoku politics with a blend of diplomacy, marriage alliances, and, when necessary, ruthless elimination of rivals. With his power base in Owari province secure, Oda Nobunaga's ambitions expanded beyond regional dominance to the unification of all Japan. Nobunaga envisioned a centralized nation under his rule, a radical idea in the fragmented political landscape of the Sengoku period. Nobunaga's political strategies were multifaceted. He was adept at forming strategic alliances, as evidenced by his partnership with Tokugawa Ieyasu, which provided mutual support against common enemies. Nobunaga also sought to weaken the power of traditional institutions that could challenge his authority. This included aggressive actions against powerful Buddhist sects, most notably the siege of Mount Hiei, where he aimed to destroy the Enryakuji temple complex and eliminate the influence of the warrior monks who opposed him. In addition to military might, Nobunaga implemented innovative economic and administrative reforms. He promoted free markets and trade by abolishing barriers such as tolls and guild monopolies, encouraging economic growth and increasing his domain's wealth. His policies, such as the Rakuichi Rakuza, allowed for open and free commerce, which helped to stabilize and strengthen his rule. Nobunaga also standardized currency and measurements, which facilitated trade and commerce across his growing territories. Nobunaga's relentless military campaigns were crucial in his quest for unification. He employed innovative tactics, including the strategic use of firearms, which he famously utilized to devastating effect at the Battle of Nagashino in 1575. This battle demonstrated his ability to integrate new technologies into traditional samurai warfare, giving him a significant advantage over his rivals. Nobunaga's relationships with key figures of the period were complex and dynamic. His alliance with Tokugawa Ieyasu was one of mutual respect and benefit, while his relationship with other daimyos ranged from cooperative to adversarial. Nobunaga's willingness to engage in both diplomacy and warfare underscored his flexible approach to achieving his goals. The methods Nobunaga employed to achieve his vision for unification were often ruthless but effective, reflecting his determination and strategic acumen. His campaign against Mount Hiei, for example, was motivated not only by the need to neutralize a military threat, but also to send a clear message to other potential opponents about the consequences of defiance. Now that we've explored Oda Nobunaga's rise to power and his ambitious vision for a unified Japan, it's time to shift our focus to the formidable challenge he faced in achieving his goals: the Enryakuji temple complex on Mount Hiei. This wasn't just any temple. It was a powerful religious, political, and military hub that had stood for centuries. Enryakuji's warrior monks, the Sohei, were not only protectors of their spiritual home, but also key players in the regional power struggles. Let's delve into the history of Enryakuji and understand why Nobunaga saw it as such a significant threat to his unification efforts. Prosody, Enryakuji, and the warrior monks. Enryakuji, established in 788 by the revered monk Saicho, rose to prominence as one of Japan's most significant Buddhist temple complexes. Situated on Mount Hiei, its strategic location near the imperial capital of Kyoto enabled it to become a vital religious and political hub. In its early years, Enryakuji was a beacon of Tendai Buddhism, attracting monks from across Japan who sought enlightenment and scholarly pursuit. The temple complex expanded rapidly, with numerous halls, pagodas, and living quarters spreading across the mountainside. Its architectural marvels, including the main hall, Konpon Chudo, and various sub-temples, showcased the exquisite craftsmanship and spiritual devotion of the time. Enryakuji's influence extended far beyond its spiritual contributions. It became a center of learning, housing extensive libraries and serving as a training ground for monks who would go on to found other influential temples and sects. The temple's economic power grew through land ownership and donations from devout patrons, including emperors and nobles, which further solidified its status. Politically, Enryakuji wielded significant power, often intervening in the affairs of the imperial court and local daimyos. Its network of followers and the warrior monks, or Sohei, gave it a formidable military presence. The temple's ability to mobilize thousands of armed monks to protect its interests or support political allies made it a critical player in regional power dynamics. As Enryakuji accumulated wealth and influence, it became entangled in the broader political struggles of the era. The temple's leaders often navigated alliances and conflicts with various warlords to maintain their autonomy and safeguard their religious community. This entanglement in secular affairs, however, also made Enryakuji a target for ambitious leaders who sought to diminish its power. The Sohei, or warrior monks of Enryakuji, were instrumental in the temple's political and military power. These monks, trained rigorously in both spiritual practices and martial arts, formed a unique and formidable force. The origins of the Sohei can be traced back to the Heian period, when monastic communities required protection from bandits and rival factions. Over time, these monks evolved into a disciplined military force capable of influencing regional politics. Training for the Sohei was intense and comprehensive, combining Buddhist teachings with martial prowess. They were adept in the use of various weapons, including the naginata, a type of pole weapon, and swords. Their training also emphasized strategic thinking and guerrilla warfare tactics, making them versatile and effective in combat. The Sohei were not merely protectors of Enryakuji. They actively participated in regional conflicts to safeguard the temple's interests and assert its influence. They often engaged in alliances with powerful daimyos and participated in significant battles. One notable instance was their involvement in the Genpei War, 1180 to 1185, where they supported different factions at various times to maintain their autonomy and leverage. Their military organization was hierarchical, with experienced monks leading units of fighters. The Sohei's ability to mobilize quickly and effectively made them a feared and respected force in the region. This military prowess, coupled with the temple's economic and political power, allowed Enryakuji to exert considerable influence over the surrounding territories. However, the Sohei's entanglement in political power struggles and regional conflicts made Enryakuji a target for ambitious leaders like Oda Nobunaga. Nobunaga, seeking to unify Japan under his rule, viewed the warrior monks as a significant obstacle. Their power and independence threatened his plans, prompting him to take decisive action against them. The Sohei's involvement in various conflicts and their strategic alliances highlight the complex interplay between religion, politics, and military power during the Sengoku period. Their story is a testament to the multifaceted role of religious institutions in feudal Japan, blending spiritual devotion with military might. We've just delved into the rich history and significant influence of the Enryakuji temple complex and its warrior monks, the Sohei. Now, let's pivot to the dramatic events that unfolded when Oda Nobunaga, driven by his unyielding ambition to unify Japan, set his sights on Mount Hiei. This confrontation was not merely a battle, but a pivotal clash between Nobunaga's vision for a centralized power and the entrenched influence of a formidable religious institution. Join me as we explore how Nobunaga's strategic brilliance and ruthless determination led to one of the most brutal sieges in Japanese history. The Siege of Mount Hiei. As Oda Nobunaga strengthened his grip on power, the independent and influential Enryakuji temple complex on Mount Hiei emerged as a formidable obstacle to his plans for unification. The temple's strategic location near Kyoto, its economic clout, and the martial prowess of its Sohei monks positioned it as both a political and military stronghold. Enryakuji's autonomy and its ability to mobilize armed monks posed a direct challenge to Nobunaga's authority and ambitions. Nobunaga's expansionist policies inevitably clashed with the interests of Enryakuji. The temple had long enjoyed a significant degree of independence, with its leaders wielding considerable influence over regional politics. Its economic power, bolstered by extensive land holdings and substantial donations from devout patrons, allowed it to maintain a well-trained and well-armed monastic militia. The Sohei were not only guardians of the temple, but also active participants in regional conflicts, often aligning with various factions to protect their interests. The proximity of Mount Hiei to Kyoto added to the tension. Control of this area was crucial for any warlord aspiring to dominate Japan. Kyoto, the imperial capital, symbolized legitimate authority, and whoever controlled the capital could claim a degree of legitimacy in their rule. Enryakuji's strategic position on Mount Hiei provided it with a vantage point over the capital, making it a critical asset or a severe threat, depending on one's perspective. As Nobunaga's power grew, so did his recognition of the necessity to neutralize threats to his unification efforts. Enryakuji's formidable combination of military might, economic resources, and political influence made it a glaring target. Nobunaga understood that as long as the temple complex remained independent and powerful, his vision of a unified Japan under his rule would face significant obstacles. The rising tensions between Nobunaga and Enryakuji were not merely a matter of political expediency, they were also personal. Nobunaga's disdain for the entrenched power structures of the Buddhist temples, which he saw as corrupt and obstructive, fueled his determination to break their influence. His ambition to centralize power and impose order clashed directly with the traditional autonomy and influence of institutions like Enryakuji. As the tension between Oda Nobunaga and Enryakuji mounted, the political landscape became increasingly fraught with intrigue and maneuvering. Nobunaga, ever the strategist, initially sought to neutralize the temple through diplomacy. He recognized that a full-scale assault would be costly and potentially damaging to his reputation, so he attempted to engage in negotiations with the temple's leadership. However, these efforts were met with staunch resistance. The leaders of Enryakuji, deeply distrustful of Nobunaga's intentions and protective of their autonomy, were unwilling to cede any power. Nobunaga's overtures included offers of peaceful coexistence and assurances of their religious freedoms, but these were seen as thinly veiled attempts to undermine the temple's independence. The mutual distrust between Nobunaga and Enryakuji's leaders made genuine compromise impossible. Nobunaga viewed the temple's military capabilities and political influence as intolerable threats, while the temple saw Nobunaga's rise as a direct challenge to their centuries-old authority. Amidst these failed negotiations, Nobunaga strengthened his strategic alliances. His relationship with Tokugawa Ieyasu, a key ally, provided critical military and logistical support. Together, they orchestrated a series of smaller campaigns to weaken the influence of other rival factions, thereby isolating Enryakuji. Nobunaga also sought the support of other influential daimyos by presenting his campaign as a necessary step towards national unification and stability, which many saw as a preferable alternative to the constant warfare of the Sengoku period. Nobunaga's diplomatic efforts extended to the imperial court, where he leveraged his growing power to gain political legitimacy. By aligning himself with the emperor, Nobunaga aimed to frame his actions against Enryakuji as not just a personal vendetta, but a sanctioned move for the greater good of the nation. This maneuvering further isolated the temple, cutting off potential sources of support. Despite these efforts, the negotiations remained deadlocked. Skirmishes between Nobunaga's forces and the Sohei became more frequent, each clash escalating the tensions further. Nobunaga's patience wore thin as the temple's defiance continued, solidifying his resolve to take decisive action. The complex web of alliances, political machinations, and failed diplomatic efforts painted a clear picture. The path to war was now inevitable. As diplomatic efforts crumbled, the friction between Oda Nobunaga's forces and the Sohei of Enryakuji erupted into a series of skirmishes, each encounter further inflaming the already volatile situation. These preliminary clashes, though minor compared to the coming storm, were marked by intense and strategic combat, showcasing the tactical acumen of both sides. The first notable skirmish occurred as Nobunaga's forces attempted to cut off supply lines to Mount Hiei, aiming to weaken the Sohei's logistical support. The warrior monks, adept at guerrilla tactics, launched counterattacks from the cover of the dense forests surrounding their mountain stronghold. These hit-and-run tactics inflicted significant damage on Nobunaga's troops, frustrating his commanders and escalating the conflict. Each skirmish brought mounting casualties and heightened the resolve of both sides. Nobunaga, known for his ruthlessness, began to implement harsher measures. He ordered the burning of villages suspected of supporting the Sohei, hoping to cut off any external aid to the temple. This scorched earth policy not only disrupted the Sohei's supply lines, but also spread fear among the local populace, emphasizing Nobunaga's determination to crush any resistance. On Mount Hiei, the Sohei fortified their defenses, preparing for the inevitable full-scale assault. The monks, trained in both spiritual and martial disciplines, were resolved to defend their sacred temple complex to the last man. Their leaders, recognizing the existential threat posed by Nobunaga, called for a holy war, rallying the monks with fervent speeches that framed their struggle as a divine mission. As the frequency and intensity of these confrontations increased, Nobunaga convened his war council. Influenced by his most trusted military advisors, including his famed strategist Hideyoshi Hashiba, Nobunaga concluded that a decisive and overwhelming assault on Mount Hiei was necessary. His advisors, aware of the Sohei's formidable defenses and the treacherous terrain, recommended a multi-pronged attack, combining direct assaults with psychological warfare to break the monks' spirit. Nobunaga's own resolve played a crucial role in this decision-making process. His vision for unification and his personal disdain for the Buddhist power structures drove him to take a hardline stance. The failed negotiations and relentless skirmishes had convinced him that no compromise was possible. Enryakuji had to be eradicated to secure his dominion. In the autumn of 1571, the air around Mount Hiei buzzed with an ominous anticipation as Oda Nobunaga marshaled a vast and formidable army. The deployment of troops marked the beginning of what would be a ruthless and strategically brilliant assault. Nobunaga, renowned for his meticulous planning and innovative tactics, ensured that every aspect of the siege was carefully orchestrated. Nobunaga's logistical preparations were nothing short of monumental. He mobilized thousands of soldiers, securing ample supplies of food, weapons, and ammunition for what promised to be a protracted campaign. The army included seasoned samurai, Ashigaru foot soldiers, and a contingent of arquebusiers, reflecting Nobunaga's modern approach to warfare that integrated traditional combat with new technologies. The strategic placement of troops was a critical element of Nobunaga's plan. He ordered the construction of fortifications around the base of Mount Hiei, effectively encircling the entire mountain. These fortifications were designed to prevent any movement in or out of the temple complex, cutting off all supply lines and avenues of escape. Nobunaga's forces established a network of camps and watchtowers, ensuring constant surveillance and swift communication. Coordination with his key generals, including the astute Akechi Mitsuhide and the resourceful Hashiba Hideyoshi, was vital to the success of the siege. Nobunaga held frequent war councils to discuss strategies, assess progress, and adapt to any unforeseen challenges. Each general was assigned specific responsibilities, from leading assault units to managing logistics and maintaining morale among the troops. As Nobunaga's army settled into their positions, the tension mounted. The sight of the formidable force encircling Mount Hiei sent a clear and intimidating message to the defenders within the temple complex. Nobunaga's strategy of total isolation aimed to psychologically weaken the monks even before the physical assault began. He understood that the siege was not only a test of military might, but also a battle of wills. The initial phase of the siege set the stage for a comprehensive and unrelenting assault. Nobunaga's meticulous planning, the strategic deployment of his forces, and the coordination with his trusted generals created an inescapable net around Mount Hiei. The temple complex, once a symbol of spiritual strength and military power, now faced the daunting prospect of a relentless and well-prepared adversary. As dawn broke over Mount Hiei, Nobunaga's forces began their assault with ruthless efficiency. The first wave of attacks was a blend of direct military action and psychological warfare, designed to instill fear and chaos among the defenders. Nobunaga, known for his brutal tactics, employed fire as a primary weapon. His troops set ablaze the outlying buildings of the temple complex, using the flames to force the defenders out of their fortified positions. The sight of burning structures and the acrid smell of smoke served not only to flush out the Sohei, but also to demoralize them. The crackling fires illuminated the night, casting a hellish glow over the mountain and creating an atmosphere of impending doom. Nobunaga's forces pressed their advantage, systematically destroying any building that could provide shelter or strategic advantage to the monks. Despite the ferocity of Nobunaga's assault, the Sohei mounted a fierce resistance. Trained in both spiritual and martial disciplines, the warrior monks utilized their intimate knowledge of the rugged terrain to stage ambushes and counterattacks. From hidden vantage points, they rained arrows and projectiles down on Nobunaga's troops, inflicting significant casualties. Their fortified positions on the slopes of Mount Hiei provided natural defensive advantages, making every step forward costly for the attackers. The Sohei's resolve and tactical ingenuity, however, were met with the overwhelming numbers and relentless tactics of Nobunaga's army. The continuous onslaught, combined with the psychological toll of the fires and destruction, began to erode the defenders' stamina and morale. Nobunaga's forces, well coordinated and supplied, maintained a relentless pressure, ensuring that the monks had no respite. Throughout the initial assault, Nobunaga's commanders executed their roles with precision. Akechi Mitsuhide led strategic flanking maneuvers to encircle pockets of resistance, while Hashiba Hideyoshi orchestrated the logistics of maintaining the siege lines and supplying the frontline troops. The synergy between Nobunaga's generals and the disciplined execution of their strategies amplified the effectiveness of the assault. As the flames consumed more of the temple complex and the relentless attacks continued, the Sohei found their defensive efforts increasingly futile. The initial phase of the assault, characterized by its brutal tactics and psychological warfare, underscored Nobunaga's ruthless determination to obliterate Enryakuji's power. The relentless advance of Nobunaga's forces set the stage for the ensuing and even more brutal phases of the siege. Amid the chaos and destruction of the initial assault, the warrior monks of Enryakuji, their spirits unbroken, mounted a series of desperate counterattacks. Drawing upon their extensive training in both spiritual and martial disciplines, the Sohei demonstrated remarkable resilience and tactical ingenuity. Their intimate knowledge of Mount Hiei's rugged terrain allowed them to employ guerrilla tactics, launching sudden and fierce attacks from concealed positions. The monks capitalized on the element of surprise, utilizing the dense forests and steep slopes to their advantage. Small bands of Sohei would descend swiftly upon Nobunaga's forces, striking with precision before retreating back into the protective cover of the mountain. These hit-and-run tactics created significant disruption and inflicted notable casualties on the attacking forces, momentarily halting their advance. In one notable counterattack, a group of Sohei, under the cover of darkness, managed to infiltrate Nobunaga's camp, setting fires and causing chaos among his troops. This bold move not only demonstrated their courage but also showcased their strategic thinking. However, despite these valiant efforts, the sheer numbers and relentless determination of Nobunaga's army made it clear that such tactics could only delay the inevitable. Nobunaga's forces, although taken aback by the ferocity and ingenuity of the Sohei, quickly adapted. Nobunaga himself, alongside his key generals, devised counter-strategies to neutralize the monks' guerrilla tactics. The attackers increased their patrols, established tighter security perimeters, and used scouts to anticipate and thwart the Sohei's movements. The continuous and intense pressure applied by Nobunaga's forces began to take its toll on the defenders. The Sohei, despite their knowledge of the terrain and their unyielding spirit, faced the harsh realities of dwindling supplies and increasing casualties. The attrition tactics employed by Nobunaga slowly but surely started to wear down their defenses. As the siege intensified, Nobunaga's forces relentlessly pushed deeper into Enryakuji's heart. The systematic destruction of the temple complex began in earnest. Nobunaga's men, driven by their leader's unyielding determination, showed no mercy. They tore through the complex, desecrating sacred sites with calculated brutality. Statues of Buddha were smashed, altars overturned, and scriptures destroyed in an orgy of destruction aimed at breaking the spiritual and cultural backbone of the temple. The Sohei, though exhausted and outnumbered, continued to fight valiantly to protect their sacred home. Their desperate resistance was both heroic and tragic as they faced the full might of Nobunaga's army. Despite their unwavering spirit, the overwhelming force and relentless assault proved insurmountable. One by one, the temple's defenses fell, and the once proud bastion of Buddhist power and learning was systematically reduced to smoldering ruins. The destruction of Enryakuji marked not just a military victory for Nobunaga, but also a symbolic annihilation of a powerful religious institution that had stood for centuries. The temple's fall represented the end of an era, a dramatic shift in the balance of power that echoed throughout Japan. The smoldering ruins of Enryakuji stood as a stark testament to Nobunaga's ruthless drive for unification and the profound changes sweeping across the land. With the temple complex in ruins and the resistance crushed, Oda Nobunaga issued the order for the massacre of any remaining monks and civilians. His forces systematically hunted down and killed those who had survived the initial assault, ensuring that no potential threat remained. The massacre was thorough and merciless, with no regard for age or status, leaving a scene of profound devastation. The aftermath of the siege saw the complete eradication of Enryakuji's influence. The temple, which had been a significant religious, cultural, and political force, was now reduced to ashes. This destruction symbolized a significant shift in the power dynamics of the region. The once powerful warrior monks, who had played a crucial role in regional conflicts, were utterly defeated, and their stronghold was obliterated. The aftermath of the siege of Mount Hiei was immediate and far-reaching, reshaping the political and religious landscape of Japan. The obliteration of Enryakuji and the massacre of its inhabitants sent shockwaves through the country. Nobunaga's decisive victory demonstrated his unparalleled ruthlessness and strategic genius, instilling both fear and respect in his allies and adversaries alike. The immediate political fallout was profound. With Enryakuji's influence eradicated, other Buddhist institutions across Japan were put on notice. Temples that had previously wielded significant power found themselves forced to reconsider their positions in the face of Nobunaga's growing dominance. The fall of Enryakuji marked the beginning of the end for the era of powerful, militant Buddhist temples. Many other temples sought to distance themselves from political affairs, focusing instead on religious activities to avoid drawing Nobunaga's ire. Nobunaga's success at Mount Hiei solidified his control over the Kyoto region, enabling him to focus on further campaigns to unify Japan. His methods, while brutal, were effective in breaking the resistance of his enemies and consolidating his power. Nobunaga's campaigns following the siege continued to leverage his innovative military strategies, incorporating firearms and disciplined troops to overpower traditional samurai forces. The destruction of Enryakuji also had significant cultural and social repercussions. The temple had been a center of learning, art, and religion for centuries. Its annihilation meant the loss of countless cultural treasures and religious artifacts. This cultural devastation underscored the lengths to which Nobunaga was willing to go to achieve his vision of a unified Japan. Reflecting on the broader implications, the fall of Enryakuji and the suppression of the Sohei marked a critical turning point in Japanese history. It paved the way for the eventual unification of Japan under the Tokugawa shogunate. Nobunaga's relentless pursuit of power, continued by his successors Toyotomi Hideyoshi and Tokugawa Ieyasu, ultimately led to the establishment of a centralized and stable government after decades of civil war. Nobunaga's legacy is one of both admiration and controversy. While he is celebrated for his role in unifying Japan, his methods, marked by brutality and destruction, remain subjects of intense debate. The siege of Mount Hiei exemplifies the duality of his legacy, a demonstration of strategic brilliance and ruthless determination that forever changed the course of Japanese history. That brings us to the end of the very first episode of Tales from Japan. The siege of Mount Hiei stands as a stark reminder of the brutal and transformative times during the Sengoku period. Oda Nobunaga's actions, both admired and condemned, reshaped Japan's landscape and paved the way for its unification. As we reflect on this story, let's remember the resilience of the warrior monks and the relentless drive of a leader who would stop at nothing to achieve his vision. Thank you for joining me on this historical journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow Tales from Japan on Spotify so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned for more tales from Japan's rich and fascinating history in our upcoming episodes. Until next time, I'm Ken Takahashi, signing off. Sayonara and take care.